What's up, 49er fans? My name is Chris Sylvester, the host of Chris's Corner here on Spreaker.com, an affiliate of National Sports here on Spreaker.com. And this is the first ever Long Beach State men's basketball show. As a lot of you may know who have listened to my shows in the past, I'm a sports analyst. You know, I do anything from MLB to NFL to NBA to hockey to NASCAR, and of course, you know, college football and college basketball. But I gotta tell you, I'm a huge Long Beach State 49er men's basketball fan, and you know, we have the 49ers, Long Beach State 49ers men's basketball team. They do have a loyal fan base, but you know, being a mid-major in a city where you have UCLA and USC, San Diego State not too far away, plus being on the West Coast, like I said, being a mid-major, being in the Big West Conference, you don't get a lot of pub. Of course, last year's team did, with, you know, names like Casper Ware, Larry Anderson, Eugene Phelps, and T.J. Robinson, and we've heard about the departure of them all this season through a rocky first 14 games, but I really feel like this team is starting to come together. This is going to be a weekly show at the very least. I'm going to try to get shows in during the week nights. Hopefully this upcoming Wednesday I can get one in after Long Beach hosts the Cal State Northridge Matadors at the Walter Pyramid. So, you know, it's good to get this thing up and running, and hopefully fellow 49er fans will tune in and, you know, give their opinion. In the bottom right corner, we have the infamous chat box comment board. You can post your opinions there. You can post questions there, and I'll get back to you via email if you put that down, or next show I'll try to give you a shout out. But I'm a Long Beach native, and I'm really excited to get this show started. So without further ado, Long Beach State 6-8 this year, 2-1 in the Big West Conference. Last night, a huge win at the Thunderdome that wasn't very thunderous. Not too many Gaucho fans there. Got to give them the benefit of the doubt, though, because the students were on break, despite the fact that they are returning the Monday, January 7th. But, you know, certainly not the hostile environment Long Beach is usually, you know, used to going in, playing in Santa Barbara like last year when the 49ers put a beat down on the Gauchos at the Thunderdome, when it was absolutely packed with students and Santa Barbara fans, and sprinkled in with Long Beach fans. That was a nationally televised game where the Long Beach State 49ers got Orlando Johnson in foul trouble early and just took off from there with a huge second half. You know, James Ennis, we really got to see him break out a little bit that game. Edis Diversovic, remember, returned from his academic suspension. So, you know, obviously a lot different of a scene than last year when these two teams matched up. Like we said, Long Beach losing the Fab Four, in addition to Edis Diversovic, who was always huge coming off the bench, Corey Jackson, and Sean Starkey, who, you know, didn't see much playing time in meaningful games, also departed due to graduation. But, you know, Long Beach, we expected to be locked and loaded with transfers like Tony Freeland and Kiala King and Edgar Garibay coming in from DePaul, Arizona State, and Loyola Marymount, respectively. Tony Freeland, I mean, you can't say enough about the guy. Came out, you know, he's a guy who's gonna dive on the floor. He said that in his video that Long Beach State posted the day before the Pacific game, and he went out the next day and he showed it against Pacific. I think I saw him on the floor diving for loose balls and just hustling hard about 4 or 5 times that Pacific game, and no doubt he's done the same in the following 2 games against Cal Poly and last night at Santa Barbara. You know, Tony Freeland really has been able to get it going. You know, the guy didn't play at all last year, had shoulder surgery, transferred to Long Beach State during winter break last year, finally became eligible against Pacific, dropped 15 points against them, really was the deciding factor in that game. And if you really think about it, last night against the Gauchos, if Tony Freeland, let's say, never decided to come to Long Beach State, or for some reason still wasn't eligible, you wonder if the 49ers would really win the game. You didn't really see Tony Freeland guarding Al Williams too much last night, and Dan Munson gave that opportunity to Dan Jennings and Kyle Richardson, who really, despite Al Williams having some good numbers once again, they got 3 fouls on him in the first half, which was absolutely huge, and Long Beach was able to go on, I believe, a 12-0 run towards the close of the first half, and then, of course, Mike Caffey hit that half-court buzzer beater, which was absolutely awesome to end the first half and really set the tide for the rest of the game, you would think. And then, of course, Santa Barbara was able to come out and tie this game at some point in the second half, but were never able to take the lead, and Long Beach was able to pull away in the waning minutes, 77-70. They beat the Gauchos last night. Really shouldn't have been that close. Really wasn't too thrilled about their play in the second half, but with this team just getting used to each other, the chemistry, obviously it's starting to look better, but this is a very athletic team. This is definitely the best team on paper, but I think the more and more these guys play in games together, especially in conference, they're going to look better and better. And of course, they looked a lot better Saturday as compared to Thursday when they went up to Cal Poly and dropped the game to the Mustangs 79-73. That one's going to hurt for a while because, as a Long Beach State fan, over the last 2 years in the junior and senior seasons of the Fab Four, we've been spoiled. Long Beach State went 29-3, 29-3 in the Fab Four's junior and senior seasons during regular season Big West play. That's absolutely amazing, and we've been spoiled by them the last 2 years. That we're not used to losing games against teams like Cal Poly. We had a winning streak, I believe, of 7 against the Mustangs until that was snapped on this past Thursday. But, you got to give Cal Poly credit. They're a good team. They went up and beat UCLA in Poly Pavilion earlier this season, and they are 3-0 in Big West play after knocking off Irvine last night. So, got to give the Mustangs credit. But, obviously, the story of that game was the Mustangs making 10 three-point baskets. You just can't let that happen. A lot of us on the Long Beach State message board, where we just talk about beach sports, we've been talking about how the zone defense really hasn't worked this year, and I tend to agree with that because with the zone defense, you're gonna find leaving a lot of 3-point shooters open, and that goes back to the UNC game. Long Beach was down 1 at the half against the North Carolina Tar Heels at home, and a lot of people thought, with the energy in the second half and the crowd really being a definite factor, and the fact that North Carolina may be looking ahead to the tournament in Maui, the Maui Invitational. A lot of 49ers fans, including myself, thought that hey, Long Beach State has a good shot at winning this game. At halftime down by 1, but North Carolina just went on an absolutely huge run, making 3 after 3 after 3. And it's one thing to leave a team open for 3, but it's another thing to leave a team like North Carolina open for 3. They're gonna make shots because these kids are highly regarded 5-star recruits, All-Americans. So but there was no difference. That's why I'm not trying to backtrack to the UNC game at all, because Long Beach State has a completely different squad now. But it reared its ugly head again at Cal Poly at Mott Gym when Cal Poly just went off from the 3-point line. Kyle Audister just killing the 49ers from beyond the arc, and Dan Jennings, of course. I think they did lose by 6, did Long Beach State to Cal Poly, but if Dan Jennings didn't have that stomach flu, and he didn't even play in the second half, I don't believe, and if he did, he played very limited minutes. But only 2 points, only a couple boards as well. So obviously, Dan Jennings is a guy who stepped it up last night and has been stepping it up a lot as of late. You look back, dating back to the Syracuse game, Dan Jennings has just been on fire. Syracuse, he put up his career high 20 points, and then he came back against Ohio State and scored 16. Went to UCLA, scored 27 points on the Bruins, who just could not stop him inside. Was close to a double-double, had 10 and 8 against Pacific, but of course, the loss at Cal Poly, it hurts because, like I said, we're not used to losing to Big West teams, but, I think we have to get used to, being happy, at least with this year's team, with a 13-5 record, and that's one of the best case scenarios, a 13-5 record in league, because you look down here and you see, Cal State Northridge, despite we'll get to them and everybody else in the Big West in a second, despite them being 0-3 in conference, if Long Beach really plays defense like they have been playing over the course of the last 6 or 7 games, they're not gonna fare too well against the Matadors, who have a lot of young shooters from the outside. Green can shoot the ball from beyond the arc, as well as Stephen Hicks, their leading scorer, who's averaging over 18 points a game. And then, you follow that up with another tough game this upcoming Saturday against the University of Hawaii. Obviously, they haven't really left Hawaii very often. They had the Diamond Head Classic there. They had their first 3 Big West games there. A close 3-point win against Cal State Northridge. A buzzer beater to beat Cal State Fullerton, 90-88 at the buzzer. And then, of course, last night, beating UC Riverside pretty handily by double digits. But we're gonna see how Hawaii fares when they get back to the mainland. Wednesday, that game will be on ESPNU against UC Irvine. Hawaii and UC Irvine will tip off at about 7 Pacific time, I do believe. I'll double check on that during the commercial break, but I believe it's at 7 ESPNU. Obviously, a lot of us will be packed into the Walter Pyramid or listening to the great 49er voice of Robert Brender as the 49ers host Cal State Northridge. But not to get too off topic, because I've been everywhere so far this show talking about Long Beach State. But real quick, just going back to that Cal Poly game, not something you have to really look back at and be scared of, because Cal Poly is a very good basketball team despite them being in the Big West. This is a team that could win Big West outright during the regular season. I mean, they are already 3-0, and they've been getting great play from their bigs, Barrett Browning and Chris Eversley inside. So obviously, like I was saying, if Dan Jennings was healthy that game, I think the 49ers do pull it off, but unfortunately he was not, and under the circumstances, still it's unexcusable for the 49ers to allow 10 3-pointers against a Big West team. And I'm not trying to bring down the Big West at all, especially not Cal Poly, because Cal Poly, like I said, has a very impressive victory at UCLA this year. And I'm sure that's what everyone's talking about with Cal Poly, but they are 3-0 in the Big West, and they're getting it done when they need to. So certainly, I think the 49ers will get their revenge February 2nd when the Mustangs visit the Walter Pyramid. So when we get back, we will preview the game against Cal State Northridge. We'll take a look at the Big West standings, and we'll also revisit the UC Santa Barbara game just a little bit, since we've been talking about the Cal Poly game a lot. You're listening to the Long Beach State Men's Basketball Show on Spreaker.com. Welcome back in, 49er fans. We are talking nothing but the black and yellow, the Long Beach State 49ers men's basketball team, 6-8 on the season. Obviously, we all know that, we'd expect something like that at this point, with the transfers not being eligible until the first conference game, and of course the tough non-conference scheduling by Dan Munson. Real quick, going back to the win last night at Santa Barbara, I did tell you earlier that I was very impressed with the first half performance, but the second half performance was something that was a little bit uneasy to stay with me. Obviously, you can't discount Santa Barbara and Bob Williams' squad. I mean, they're a very good team. Obviously the record doesn't show it. They are 5-9 and 1-2 in the Big West, with a loss to Cal State Fullerton, of course, Long Beach State last night, but they did get a big win at home against UCI the game before. Al Williams is averaging 17.1 points per game and 10.1 rebounds per game. Shades of TJ Robinson there with the double-double, but give credit to Bob Williams. He's scheduled, according to some, the toughest non-conference schedule in the nation. Usually we're used to Long Beach State having the toughest non-conference schedule in the nation, but his team opened up at LSU, went to a very underrated good Illinois State team out of the Missouri Valley Conference, played a home game against University of San Diego out of the WCC, went to Boise State, who knocked off Creighton earlier this year. Wyoming was 12-0, lost at home against them, then later lost against Wyoming at Wyoming, kind of like a Fresno State, Long Beach State kind of thing, a home and home in one season. Beat Santa Clara, who has impressed a lot, hung with the likes of number one Duke just about a week and a half ago. So, and you can't forget about the game at San Diego State, the number 17th ranked team in the nation, and at Cal, who's been very good as well. So, give credit to Bob Williams and UC Santa Barbara. I'm not trying to bring them down, but in my opinion, this is a game that Long Beach State should have won by about 20 points. They were up 41-31 after that Michael Caffey half-court buzzer beater before halftime, and really were able to, they were not able to sustain that lead. Even with Al Williams in the game in the second half, it really wasn't him. He had 16 and 8, but the young kids for UC Santa Barbara, just Michael Bryson just lit it up from beyond the arc along with Taylor. They didn't have one of their point guards healthy, did the Gauchos, but that Nate Garth, they didn't have him healthy. He's averaging 4 assists per game. Obviously could have helped, but Taryn Brown and Alan Williams and Taylor were just absolutely going off last night for the UCSB Gauchos, and this is going to be a scary team down the road because Bob Williams, after winning back-to-back Big West titles, and I know we don't like hearing about that, and we finally got over the hump last year, but after winning back-to-back Big West titles and getting into the NCAA tournament for consecutive seasons, Bob Williams has really built a strong, underground recruiting class, just that in the fact that, these guys weren't highly regarded so much coming out of high school, but, Al Williams and Taryn Brown and Nate Garth, these young guys have made a big impact here at UCSB just in their first season, and by the time these guys are upperclassmen, they are going to be the team to beat in the Big West. We talk about Irvine having a good recruiting class coming in next year, and of course, Hawaii, just entering the conference. You wonder what they will bring to the table. Northridge has a lot of young players as well. So obviously the Big West is just going to keep improving and being a stronger conference, and it's going to be harder and harder for Long Beach State to keep getting to the NCAA tournament through this conference, even without San Diego State possibly joining. Don't really want to get into that right now. We'll talk about that when we get a little bit more news on it. But it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be a cakewalk really like it was during the Big West regular season the last 2 seasons. We're going to have to get used to the Big West, being a good conference. Before conference play started, the Big West had an RPI rating of 10 out of all conferences, and as we all know, that's higher than anybody would ever expect from Big West teams. But Cal State Northridge going in and getting a win against Utah. You talk about Cal Poly beating a team like UCLA, UCI beating USC. All these wins over BCS programs have definitely shot up the Big West's RPI, and it really, it's going to be tougher for Long Beach, but it's actually a good thing for the conference because the better and better the conference gets, the more and more revenue the conference is going to be able to have, and hopefully, we're not going to have to go play, as we all call it, the Matadump, or have to go play up in, gyms like Mott Gym, and, I'm not really trying to criticize them like Titan Gym and the Student Recreation Center at UC Riverside, but, these aren't exactly real college basketball environments, and that's where the Big West is trying to get, and they are taking a step in the right direction because UC Irvine's going to be very good next year. Cal State Fullerton's good this year, probably will bring back a lot of sharpshooters next season. UC Riverside, we never know with that team. We're surprised that they went in and got the win at Northridge. They always seem to surprise us in conference play every year. Do the Highlanders. They did take Long Beach to overtime last year. Probably should have beaten Long Beach, got fortunate and escaped Riverside with the win, but Hawaii has a lot of young players as well, and can get good recruiting. Just the fact that they are Hawaii. They are the University of Hawaii. So, and of course, like I said, UCSB and Cal Poly and UC Davis. Pacific is leaving, but obviously they're trying to make their mark in the conference before they head to the WCC. And a big thing that we've talked about lately, as far as conference realignment in the Big West, is will we have another team replace Pacific? Because just a couple of days ago we had Boise State decided to stay in the Mountain West, and it's more and more it's looking like San Diego State's going to follow them, staying in the Mountain West as well. So certainly it's good that the Big West Conference is continuing to improve, and we've already seen it this year. So real quick, going down the Big West standings, Hawaii is in first place, tied with Cal Poly at 3-0, Cal State Fullerton 2-1, Long Beach State 2-1, Pacific 1-1, UC Irvine 1-2, UC Santa Barbara 1-2, Riverside 1-2, UC Davis is 0-2, and the biggest surprise of the conference is Cal State Northridge at 0-3. I'm not surprised that Cal Poly is 3-0. I'm not surprised that UC Irvine's 1-2. I'm not surprised that Hawaii is 3-0. I'm more surprised that Cal State Northridge is 0-3. This is a squad that, frankly, we thought would come in and really shock a lot of people in the Big West this year. Maybe get close to the top, second or third, possibly even first. But this team got off to a very hot start. They started 9-3, played a pretty tough non-conference schedule. Compared to teams in the past, they played against Tulsa at BYU, hung with them. Got blown out at UCLA, but hung with Arizona State at Arizona State, and then got the amazing comeback win at Utah. Had a tough 3-point loss against Hawaii, and then they just absolutely hit rock bottom when they lost to UC Riverside at home, and then allowed 105 points last night to Cal State Fullerton. Obviously, we know Fullerton is a team that has always been able to score a lot of points, but 105 points in 40 minutes, that's just inexcusable to give up in college basketball. They did score 86, did the Matadors, but this is a team that's just been a little bit of a disappointment from an outsider's perspective. And of course, if you're a Northridge fan, you're not very happy because coming into the season, this team played outstanding in the non-conference against a pretty decent non-conference schedule, but they just have come into Big West play and laid an egg so far. But we shouldn't take a deep breath and rest, take a step back and rest a little bit, because Cal State Northridge has always played Long Beach State tough, whether it's at home or on the road for Long Beach. They came in and gave us a scare last year at the Walter Pyramid, and I expect another close game this Wednesday as they take on Northridge at 10:05 Eastern, 7:05 over here on the East Coast. I'll be there like I am at every single Long Beach State home game. But Long Beach State's got to tighten up on defense. It's plain and simple. That's the problem for Long Beach State. Long Beach State defense is allowing over 75 points per game, and are only averaging 66 points per game. And obviously, you can't really look at those numbers and say that that's going to happen in the Big West. But they allowed 79 points to a Cal Poly team that doesn't score 79 points a game, doesn't even come close to scoring 79 points a game. Cal Poly is averaging 65 points per game. The only other time that Cal Poly scored 79 points was in a win against a Division III school, Menlo College. That just can't happen if you're Long Beach State. Those numbers may be a little bit deceiving with playing the likes of Ohio State, Syracuse, Arizona, UNC, UCLA, but to allow I'm keep backtracking to the Poly game because it's frustrating to allow 79 points to a team like that. But if Long Beach State keeps playing that kind of defense, Northridge is averaging 79.8 points per game. 17th in the nation is Northridge in scoring. And if you're not going to play defense against Cal State Northridge, they will light it up behind the arc. They will make you look like Cal State Fullerton made them look like last night. And, frankly, I wouldn't be surprised to see this Cal State Northridge team put up 90 points on Long Beach State if they don't tighten up on defense. I'm sure they're going to work on that in the couple of days they have before this game. And, for when they played man-to-man last night, did really well. I don't know why Munson doesn't stick with that. Obviously, it takes a while to develop a man-to-man defense, transitioning from a zone to a man-to-man, but, definitely it's something that Long Beach State's got to improve on because, a lot of these Big West teams are high-scoring teams. We saw Fullerton will put up 100 points on Long Beach State if they don't tighten up on defense, plain and simple. UCI will put up 80-plus points. UC Riverside, let's not worry about them. Hawaii will put up 80, 90 points because they're capable of putting up those kind of offensive numbers. So the big thing for Long Beach State on Wednesday, my key to the game is to let Keala King kind of run the offense when Mike Caffey is out. Kind of back off on playing Peter Papageorge so much. His shot has just been absolutely off lately, and he really hasn't had too many good games since dropping 23 in a win at Fresno back in November. So, certainly I think Munson's got it right with the starting five. Like I said, it's the best starting five in the Big West, hands down on paper. But, the more and more these guys get acclimated together, the more they'll show it with the results in the basketball court. And you can only hope that the defense will be tightened up against Northridge this Wednesday. That's going to be a tough game. Also on Saturday, Hawaii, like I said, comes back to the mainland. I did check on it. They do play UC Irvine at the Bren Event Center this Wednesday while Long Beach is taking on Northridge. That game's going to be at 8 o'clock Pacific time, 11 o'clock Eastern on ESPNU. So that game starts an hour later than the Long Beach game. So maybe we'll be able to rush back home, us locals, and catch the end of that game because we can expect that to be a very good game too. UC Irvine, a very tough team to beat at home. They are 7-9 in Big West. They are 79 on the season, and only 1-2 in Big West play. But UC Irvine, rather, is a tough team. They're a young team. They're a tough team. They got guys like Mike Wilder and Damon Starring who can light it up from beyond the arc. So, got to be careful with a team like UCI, and that'll be a fun game to come and hopefully watch the end of Hawaii and UCI, and hopefully that's after a Long Beach victory. But nothing's going to come easy other than the games against Riverside and maybe UC Davis this year for Long Beach State in the conference. So can't really take too many breaths this year. Can't relax too much if you're Long Beach State. Got to play a full season like a lot of these teams do play in tougher conferences. But hopefully the more and more these guys play together, the more and more acclimated they will become to playing with each other. A guy that I've been really impressed with is Mike Caffey. Got to be Mike Caffey. Mike Caffey, 19 points, 9 rebounds, and 5 assists last night. Shades of Casper Ware with that beautiful teardrop he has, and if he can just get it going from the free throw line, Mike Caffey is going to be a special player. He is a special player. He's averaging 11.9 points per game, 4.6 rebounds per game, and 4.3 assists a game. He's really been doing well. Other than only 6 points in the UCLA game, did have 6 assists in the UCLA game, but other than that, he's been scoring in double digits 4 out of the last 5 games. Against BYU Hawaii, he had 21 points and 11 rebounds, a double-double for the 6-foot sophomore out of Riverside, California, and then really was lighting it up from beyond the arc, 3 of 5 from beyond the arc against Pacific. Scored 13 points and had 3 assists and 4 rebounds against Cal Poly in that loss. And then, of course, last night looked really good. Only went 1 for 3 from beyond the arc, but positive numbers, 2 for 2 from the free throw line, both swishes. Like I said, 19 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, a block, 2 steals. So, this guy's not exactly the go-to guy yet for Long Beach State, and he probably won't be until his senior season because, Keala King is really going to stand out and be the player next year. We'll get to the possibility of getting Tyler Lamb in the second, the UCLA transfer, but Tony Freeland and Keala King, I have a feeling them and Dan Jennings will be doing a lot of the scoring next year, but Mike Caffey's still going to be the facilitator this year and next year as well. And then when he gets into his senior season, he can start coming up the court and pulling up for 3, just like Casper Ware did for the last couple of seasons, and just be as effective, if not better, than Casper Ware at it, because this Mike Caffey kid is really showing us shades of shades of senior Casper in only his sophomore year, which is it's really special. Kudos to the coaching staff for going out and finding Mike Caffey, who's been a huge part of the 49ers' 6 wins this season and will continue to need to be the guy when Long Beach needs late buckets in close games down here in Big West play. James Ennis, what can you say about James Ennis? 17.5 points per game. He's averaging 6.9 rebounds per game. This guy is up there on the NBA draft boards. He is a special guy. If he gets just a little bit stronger, he's going to be an effective player in the National Basketball Association. This guy can do it all. He has. I've never seen somebody in college basketball on Long Beach State on a mid-major, dunk like he does. He has those explosive highlight reel dunks. He had that reverse against Pacific, a couple alley-oops last night as well, and then he can do it from beyond the three-point arc and is a very good free throw shooter as well. So if Mike Caffey can keep it up as he has been lately, improve on those free throws, James Ennis can just keep it up, get a little bit stronger down inside, and then Tony Freeland can get a little bit of the rust off, as well as Keala King, and Dan Jennings can keep doing his thing and stay out of foul trouble, grab rebounds, and get easy buckets inside against these smaller Big West lineups. I think this Long Beach team is going to be just okay. A lot of people are saying, this team might only go 9-9 in conference. I don't buy that for a second. I look at Long Beach's schedule and I see too many games that I know the 49ers are going to win. I can only see a couple losses. Maybe coming to Cal State Fullerton. Maybe a home loss against Cal Poly, maybe a loss at the end of the season at Pacific, and maybe at Hawaii or versus Hawaii, vice versa, whatever you want to call it, against Hawaii and Fullerton. But other than that, I can really see Long Beach State only losing 2 or 3 more games here the rest of the way. Can't forget the Bracket Buster. That'll be always fun. That game will be at home. Unfortunately, in the last year of the Bracket Buster, ESPN for whatever reason discontinued it. But I know we've had a fun last couple years with hosting Montana, and then that Creighton game last year was certainly a heck of a game, but that buzzer beater really heartbreaking at the end. But like I said, I really only think Long Beach will lose 3, 4 at the max games here the rest of the way. I can expect something like 14-4 or 13-5 in conference would sit very well with me heading into the Big West championship, or in the Big West tournament, and that's really what it all comes down to. And I'm sure Dan Munson will have his boys ready, and I really expect this team to be peaking by that time. So certainly it's going to be a fun run the rest of the way. Real quickly, reports are circulating that Tyler Lamb, former high school teammate of Keala King at Mater Dei High School in Santa Ana, California, has his final 2 down to Long Beach State and San Diego State. He was in attendance for the Long Beach State game versus Pacific. So you got to keep that in mind, that he has already seen us play, but he's also gone down and seen San Diego State beat Cal State Bakersfield, and of course the outstanding student section they have there. It's been a little tough the last couple of home games for Long Beach State with the students being on break. Hopefully we get a good crowd for the home game against Northridge, because classes don't start until next week, or a couple weeks, not until I think the very end of this month. So hopefully Long Beach State can get a good crowd in against Cal State Northridge as well as Hawaii, and really not look like the Thunderdome last night against UC Santa Barbara. But of course, getting back to it, Tyler Lamb is down to San Diego State and Long Beach State. So he'd be a huge pickup for us. For Long Beach State. I mean, he's coming off knee surgery, but he was a top recruit coming out of high school. Just like Keala King, he can play probably in the Big West. He can play the 3 and the 2, even the 1. He's a great facilitator, and he can shoot the ball from the outside as well, and he can play inside as well. So it'd be great for Long Beach to continue this by getting these transfers from big time programs. But if not, the guard positions look pretty good for the next couple of years. Unfortunately, Branford Jones went out with that season-ending injury against North Alabama at the beginning of the season. But Javion Watson was a parade All-American, and of course you got Mike Caffey at the top of the guard depth chart for Long Beach State for the next 2.5 years. So it's certainly going to be fun coming down here and watching Big West play. Hopefully I get another show in before hopefully I get another showing before the Hawaii game after the Cal State Northridge game. But if not, then definitely just keep checking back here on Spreaker.com. I'm going to post this on the members for board host or whatever it's called, but it's the Long Beach State Board. And best of luck to Long Beach this week, and it'll be fun to watch the Big West Conference action, back up and circulating once again. My name's Chris Sylvester. Thanks for listening to the Long Beach State Men's Basketball Show here on Spreaker.com.
Taylor Young exclusive. You know what it is. Black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow. Yeah. You know what it is. Black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow. Yeah. You know what it is. Everything I do it big. Yeah. Speaking that stuff. When I pulled off the line, that's done. Reppin' my town when you see me, you know everything. Black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow. I put it down from the whip to my diamonds, I'm in